So, Géraud, who needs to file a French tax return in 2026?
Anyone who lived in France permanently in 2025, of course.
And what are the most common mistakes that expats make when filing their taxes?
I would say doing the tax return alone, especially the first one. Hello guys, and welcome to the French Tax Online office again. Today I'm very happy to be with Joanne, who you know very well, I'm sure. She's going to ask me quite a lot of questions about the 2026 tax return in France, so that you guys can know what you have to do, what you have to declare, who has to do something. I guess it's going to be very useful for all of you guys newcomers to France in 2025, of course. Let's go, Joanne.
So, Géraud, who needs to file a French tax return in 2026?
In 2026, anyone who lived in France permanently in 2025, of course, or anyone that had a French source of income in 2025 needs to file a French tax return. Why is that? It's because either tax resident or people receiving money from France have to submit a tax return.
When are the tax filing deadlines in 2026?
Actually, it depends on the place you live in France, as you know. We have a lot of départements, of course, and pretty much we don't have the dates yet, so I cannot tell you the exact day. Let's say at the earliest it will be mid-May, and the latest usually 5 or 6 of June.
What is the difference between a resident and a non-resident for tax purposes?
A tax resident is going to declare his worldwide income and is going to pay his taxes according to the tax bracket, you know. On the other hand, a non-resident only has to declare his French sources of income and will be liable to a basic minimum rate of 20%, and then with the tax bracket, of course. And the social charges will not be the same depending on where you live and where you are registered to the Social Security.
What French source income must a non-resident declare in France?
As a non-resident, you have to declare pretty much any French source of income, any of them, pension, rental income, dividend, interest. As long as you receive money from France, you have to declare it.
What is the difference between a gross amount and net taxable amount?
In France, you have to declare your taxable income, not the gross, right? The gross is only the amount to be paid by your employer before social charges. The taxable income is the one on which you have to pay the taxes, right? So if you are a French employee or a pensioner or whatever, you're going to have a taxable income, montant taxable. This is the one amount you have to declare.
What is the minimum tax rate for non-residents? And is there a way to pay less?
Non-residents get to pay 20% minimum rate, of course, and then it's going to depend on the tax bracket. Yes, there is a way to pay less. It's called the option pour les revenus mondiaux, right? In this case, you have to be a non-resident of France, but usually you would use it if most of your income still come from France, and you would tell France, okay, I do want to be considered as a resident for tax calculation, and therefore you would declare all of your worldwide income, right? If you do that, then you are going to be able to benefit from the tax bracket, the usual one for the resident. I believe it's for the Schumacher non-residents.
What forms do expats and non-residents need to use?
It really depends on what you earn, right? So 2042, 2042C, C Pro, 2041, NR, 2047, of course, 3916, etc., etc. Actually, as you know, you know it very well, Joanne, this is a question which is impossible to answer to because it really depends on the type of income you receive, right? And to be fair, expat, non-resident, resident, pretty much everyone is using the same tax form. Of course, when you receive foreign income, you have some more form, 2047, etc. But pretty much any of the forms can be used.
So, how do you avoid paying tax twice, both in the country of source of income and in France?
First of all, you have to double check whether there is a tax treaty between France and your own country. That's the first thing. If you don't, then you might pay double. Remember this client working in Iraq, this one is going to pay double, unfortunately. If you check, and that's the case, there is a non-double taxation treaty between France and your own country, then you have to read and understand what is the treatment of the taxes you've paid already in one of the two countries, right? Depending on the type of income and the treaty, the tax credit is different. It's either a tax credit equal to the amount of the taxes paid, or it's a tax credit equal to the amount you are paying in France, which means no more French taxes in this case, right? So it really depends. I cannot tell you exactly. It depends on many things, right? And of course, you don't have to forget the form 2047, and you have to fill it correctly. As you know very well, Joanne, we could see a lot of clients that tried to do their tax return themselves, and in the end, they forgot the 2047 or they did not do it correctly, and in the end, they did not get the tax credit, right?
Do expats need to declare foreign bank accounts?
Of course, everyone living in France, being a tax resident of France, only resident, not a non-resident, any French tax resident has to declare all of his non-French bank accounts, plus crypto accounts, plus life insurance, plus PayPal, plus anything else, right? And the trust, of course.
And what should you declare if you move to or from France in 2025 during the tax year?
In this case, you're going to submit a specific tax return which is going to be calculated pro rata, depending on the day you arrive or you left France. Let's say you arrive in August. Then, in this case, you're going to declare your worldwide income in France from August to the end of December. Because as you know, you guys all know it, the French tax year's calendar from January to December, right? But of course, if you arrive in France or leave France during the year, then you're going to declare your taxes pro rata, depending on the time you actually spent in France, which makes a lot of sense.
And what are the social charges, prélèvements sociaux, and do they apply also to non-residents?
It depends on the situation. It depends on the type of income you receive. It depends on where you live. So basically, to give you a wide answer, yes, social charges do apply to pretty much anyone. The big question is, which one apply? The basic rate in France at the moment is 17.2%. But if you are a EU or Swiss or UK tax resident, you might be applied a 7.5% rate, right? But if you're a non-resident, non-EU EEE, then you might be applied at 18.6% from January 2026. So it depends on the type of income and the country you live in, actually.
Okay, great. Do I need to have a French bank account in order to pay my French income tax?
Yes, the French is going to require you to have a French IBAN to be able to pay your taxes, unless you pay by bank transfer. But if you don't, you won't be able to pay by direct debit.
And what are the most common mistakes that expats make when filing their taxes?
I would say doing the tax return alone, especially the first one.
Yeah.
As we said before, not using the 2047 form or not using it properly, not using the right tax credits in both ways, of course, not declaring, the crypto account or the foreign bank account, the trust. A lot of US people do not declare the trust because they have no clue that it must be declared, and the fine is huge. Not using the few tax credit we can get in France, not doing it on time, not declaring the rental income for those who don't live in France because they're like, oh, but I declare it in my own country. these are the most common issues. I'm sure you have plenty more examples in your way.
Can French Tax Online help me to file a personal tax return?
Of course, and you guys will have the pleasure to work with Joanne or with Sam or someone else from the team, because they are the ones managing your tax return. As you know, at French Tax Online, you have an online form, but online form does not mean AI or automated form, right? There is no automation actually at French Tax Online. We have an online form, but all of your return or checked, double checked by a human person. And I would say it's 100% of the time, we do ask you questions about anything, any line, which is not 100% sure, because we do not want to send a tax return which we are not 110% sure about. Okay, so yes, at French Tax Online, we do quite a lot of tax return for expats. I would say 700, 800 a year, pretty much. So I believe that we can say that we are used to it. We have a lot of experience. We have, we have a bank of data on specific cases. And if your case is a bit too complicated for us, then we are very much able to say, this one is not for us. And then we would give you to someone else, probably a tax lawyer who's specialized in very tricky questions. I think that's all, Joanne, right now.
All. Yes.
Thank you very much for your questions. I hope it's going to help the people watching us. Guys, thanks for watching. I believe that if you've been watching this, you're about to move to France, or you just moved and you're wondering about how the 2026 tax return is going to be handled. Please do not worry, this is going to be fine. You can do it yourself, of course, but if you want to be 100% sure, if you want to be stress-free, just reach out to us and we'll be very happy to help you with this. Thank you very much and see you soon.
See you soon.